Welcome to the Yeti Den. Good morning, friends. We have a great episode today. We'll be talking about a brand new Pokemon Legends announcement of Pokemon ZA, and that is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And so Jumby Jumbwa, my co-host, aka Matt Gorgas, will lead us through what our expectations should be for this new Pokemon announcement. And after we dive into the news, we'll talk about the games that we've been playing. And the other main story that we will be touching on is there was just a cool announcement from a Skyrim player that they basically beat the game by seeing everything and doing everything and kind of becoming a legend. And I thought it was funny. He put in his video, now this is his playground. So I wanted to call our episode that, because I thought that was I don't know, I love that confidence, you know, the idea of roaming through Skyrim as your playground and dominating the playground as this player has done. So that will be our main story. Then we'll talk about Pokemon. We'll go into the games that we've been playing this week. And so we won't go too deep, but we've mentioned this last time that this is kind of my favorite part of each episode. And so we'll not only be talking about what we played, but kind of the genres themselves. So for me, we'll be talking about Persona 3 Reload, Dredge, Pepper, Grinder, and Unicorn Overlord. Matt, do you want to tell them your list that we'll be talking about after the main story?
Yes. My list is Final Fantasy VII. Tomorrow, Rebirth comes out, so that's super exciting for me. And then I also am going to be talking a little bit about Yoshi's Woolly World, which is from my backlog. And then I'm also trying to take advantage of that PS Plus, because it's so easy to let that go by in a month and not try anything new. So we'll be talking about some Foamsters.
Yeah, that reminds me of Return to Grace, because I have the same kind of goal this year, which is to play more Game Pass games. So I'm just like you, where I'm like, I got to utilize this service. So Return to Grace is another one that we'll talk about. But yeah, so on to our first headline story. Now this is his playground. So this YouTuber, and let me see, I sent you the video to get his username, but basically in the description they wrote, every quest completed, every item and spell collected, the highest Skyrim level ever reached by hand. The ultimate Skyrim character has done it all. I put into this save all the knowledge I gathered about Skyrim in my 1,800 hours of playing. Never used console commands, never played with mods. What? I completed the game on Legendary Edition, but the save is also compatible with every other version of Skyrim.
Wow.
So this being the Yeti Den, I cover a lot of Bethesda games. Matt, you play a lot of Bethesda games. You mod Bethesda games.
Yeah.
For the Bethesda fans, I had mentioned to you that it would be fun to not just do like topical news on the podcast, but to also just kind of zone in on these evergreen games that are always generating new headlines. People are always finding new ways to play them. So, he has his chapters listed as these like 17 core gameplay elements of Skyrim. But off the top of your head, how many times do you think you've beaten Skyrim? Is that a goal of yours when you play this game, to beat it, or is it just an experience?
I mean, I think everyone has a different definition of what it means to beat Skyrim. For me,
yeah, totally.
It really just comes down to a certain number of quests and types of quests. So that includes like DLC quests. That includes at this point, it used to include the base game, but I sometimes just play Skyrim to just beat the DLC or any modded campaigns that I've put in, or new worlds and locations through the mods. And so now beating it for me is kind of like, did I beat those quests, or did I beat all those quests together on this single character? And how can I kind of role play to come up with this character that, you know, becomes a vampire or a werewolf and then moves on to being like the most powerful mage. And then I downloaded this mod that turned like it gave you access to going to like a Middle Earth or something. So I did all those quests as well as like this Gandalf guy. So it gets crazy. But yeah, I used to say it would be just beating the base game, but now it's different, and I'm sure a bunch of people would say it's completely different. I think it's fair though, how he said, I totally beat the game. Here's everything I've done. Because when you look at all the mechanics and what's available, it really looks like he did everything.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you nailed that. Like, everyone plays different, and I think of Skyrim as a sandbox, but to me, it's a really good medium between feeling like it's something you could walk away with a sense of completion from, but also having a ton of replay value. And I feel like that's what Bethesda has been chasing ever since with Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Starfield. And so we don't know yet if they're going to accomplish that balance with Starfield, but I have a feeling that's their intention. Is I think even Todd Howard has said, I want people to play Starfield for the next 10 years. And I think he has Skyrim in mind when he says that, because, I mean, here we are. I think Skyrim came out in maybe 2011, and we're in 2024. And it makes news that a player found a way to define beating Skyrim. And so with the leveling and the skills, what are the skills that you're drawn to the most when you play Skyrim? Does it depend on how you role play? And do you have a default kind of role play? Are you usually a Gandalf in the Skyrim world? Do you gravitate towards that, or have you generally played as different characters with different skill emphasis?
So when I first started playing, just like many people, I was really drawn to like the Thieves Guild and that whole sneak and archer, like a sneak archer, I think they call it. But since I've played that game over and over again and realized how easy it is to just role play and throw your characters you've made up already in that world, I have this character that's more of the ranger kind of build, more of that bow and two-handed gameplay. And that's super fun because you get that advantage of being a little bit of that quick archer, but then also the heavy, hard-hitting action melee character as well. And that's super fun. I try to throw in some magic in there, like maybe like some healing or something like that. But I mostly tend to focus on bow and two-handed melee now when I play that game. I do have a lot of memorable playthroughs as a mage, and that's why I mentioned that earlier. And I think being a mage is super fun. It's almost how I used to get like sort of a Harry Potter Gandalf fix before Hogwarts Legacy came out. Now that game's pretty fun with magic too. So yeah, that's how I play. What kind of characters are you drawn to making when you play Skyrim?
Yeah, for me, I am always, it doesn't matter what I play, I'm always doing some kind of archer situation. Whether it's Dragon's Dogma now, whether it's Fire Emblem, whether it's Skyrim, I'm always looking for the most power in a bow that I could find. And the more that I've leaned into understanding how the community plays, the more I've realized I'm like so basic that's not special at all with Skyrim, that everybody plays with the bow and sneaks. So I wonder if that's a young Spencer thing, that like I naturally gravitated towards the easiest way to play. And if that's why so many people are drawn to the archer build, or if it's because the game guides you towards that. But one thing I've noticed is on the replay that I started on the Series X is that the axe hits really hard. And I just don't remember feeling that way when I played it on the PS3. And again, is that just because on all games, like I would be curious, do all players who gravitate towards the stealth archer on Skyrim also play archers on other games? Or is Skyrim just kind of limited in its build in how it presents to where there's kind of a path of least resistance in the game design? Or is it just that like we as role-playing people kind of, you know, our generation was inspired by Legolas and was like, I just want to be Legolas. Like that's the number one thing. Maybe number 2 is Aragorn, number 3 is Gandalf. So I'm intentionally playing it now, kind of challenging that assumption, going what you're saying, which is, what about the power of melee? Like, could you get more of that power sensation from Skyrim with the axe? And I was just like, man, I can't believe how powerful I feel with this axe. And so I'm really looking forward to getting back to my playthrough, my modern playthrough, because I think I played maybe like 2 years ago on the Switch. I put 100 hours in and I loved it. And it was still very bow oriented. But I was also playing with Mo for the first time. So I was like, I got to teach you how to take out characters that are way above your level. Like, we're going to use this bush on a hill and we're going to keep that bush between us and the enemy. So when they find us, you're just going to like keep that circular distance, and you're going to find objects that the NPCs can't really path around really well. And you're just going to keep unloading bows into them. It doesn't matter if we're here for 20 minutes. That's how we play the game. You know? So I don't know if that's just how we've always played. Like, I'm not as well versed in Oblivion, and I've been also visiting Oblivion on the Series X. Is that how you played Oblivion as a stealth archer?
Well, I think first person, especially in that generation, it was very easy for players to lean into a weapon that shoots. It just like the video game literacy translated so well to a bow that, yes, I think it was the path of least resistance. And then also, if playing even on normal mode in Skyrim, it's like a classic RPG where you're so weak in the beginning that you're like really studying what skills are going to make me stronger, and you get so many great perks for sneaking and shooting and a headshot, and it's crazy. So when there's a ton of enemies and you can just shoot them all easily, and instead of having them swarm you and you're constantly eating food and potions to keep up your health as you swing your big sword, like it's almost a no-brainer that I want to shoot some of these guys first and then maybe take a couple more of them out with my spells or a sword, right? And so that was my next step, my next evolution from playing as just a stealth archer, is like, how can I kind of make this more exciting and incorporate another weapon into this way of playing, because it is fun to play as an archer, but I just wanted to enhance it with another weapon.
No, totally. I love that. What about he said he completed every quest, and I don't know what I wrote here. Every quest and SATS. I don't know what that was supposed to be, but questing in Skyrim, do you find that you're drawn to the quest design of Skyrim? Like, does it excite you? Do you still find new vanilla quest lines that were written when you play through it now, or have you also completed every quest? Because I know for me, I am so far from completing every quest. Like, the first time I beat it on the PS3, I kind of mainlined the story as much as I can. The second time, I tried to discover as many new quests as I could. And now my third time, I'm like noticing how prevalent Radiant quests actually are in the design of Skyrim. So I'm hoping to see everything, but have you seen everything yourself?
So playing and following the storyline and then the side quests that are adjacent to the storyline, yes, I've played those. But now how I play is, again, like I don't go straight for the story or even those quests I really like. Eventually, I lead into them, like the Dawn Guard DLC. I love that DLC. It's like one of my favorite DLCs of all time, outside of Witcher. But anyways, now how I play is I literally just roam around and I go, I've never been in that cave before, and I go into that cave and I discover that there's a quest part of that cave. Or you know what? I never spent time just hanging out in solitude and talking to all the people in the tavern. Oh, they got some quests for me. I've never accepted their quests because I feel like they're just kind of, maybe they're like cheesy auto-generated quests or something. I don't know. I guess I'll accept one now. So I accept one, and then it takes me to a location I've never been, a cave I've never been to. I fight some vampires. I get a artifact and I bring it back, and I learned that this guy used to be like an old warrior in the old war or something, and he's so thankful that I got his old helmet from the war. And and so I'm still discovering new fun things like that, and it just makes it even better if you're able to kind of give that new skin with mods on the game. It just kind of keeps it fresh and exciting and makes the world feel more alive. And why can't more games be interesting like this, but yet still retain a sense of not overwhelming the player? So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on? He says he has a legendary inventory. What are your thoughts on the way loot and item design is set up in Skyrim? Because as you know, and maybe our audience knows, maybe, but probably they don't, I've been locked into Fallout 4 on the channel trying to freaking complete my definition of completion, which is like rolling credits on the main story and each DLC. And that alone is taking like probably 150 hours. But
yeah.
I know that in Fallout 4 they have a tiered kind of generic system that's heavily incentivized towards modding your own weapons and kind of creating your own special loot. Can you kind of like refresh for me what Skyrim's doing with loot? And do you feel like it incentivizes you to find the next great upgrade or to craft, or is it more bespoke and you're finding special weapons that it's like, I know where that weapon is, it has a name and it's always there and I always beeline to go get it? Like where is their balance when it comes to itemization and loot?
Right. So gosh, it's been a while since I played actual vanilla Skyrim. But what I remember about my experience is that I remember dying easily, with just a sword, being kind of leaning into that bow sneak archer build. And then from there, I remember thinking, man, it's hard to get money. I need to collect everything I can. And then also start thinking about what's the ratio to weight and value with what I'm holding. And so it started making me think about that, all those systems. And then once I would do that, I would create this loop cycle of me going into a dungeon, collecting the valuable loot I can find, going back and selling that over and over again to make my money, to get like a horse or a house, or even buy items or weapons that I do want. But honestly, I learned quickly that I don't need to go and buy these items at the general goods or whatever in Whiterun. I could just sell everything to, I think his name's Benethor or whatever. I can sell everything to him, and then I can just go back out and find these great weapons, and eventually I'm going to come across an ebony weapon, right, that I'm going to really want. I knew that at some point I would have to learn how to craft and invest like skills into crafting. But for me at the time when I was first playing, that felt like it was taking away from my experience of being an adventurer, and I wasn't so much into the crafting. I think the crafting I started falling in love with after I really got that first couple gameplay experiences, full playthroughs, and then I wanted to start exploring other mechanics in the game and really living in, I guess, kind of role playing in that world and everything. So With the crafting, I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot. I learned there was a lot more incentive with that side to get your weapons a lot quicker because I was able to kind of see what ores you get, and I'm gonna upgrade this weapon over and over again, or craft new weapons until I get that ebony blade. Versus when I was first playing through the game, where I felt like, I'm so excited to get that next piece of loot, so I got to do some quests, more questing, right? So I think what it comes down to for me now totally is like, okay, I'm experienced with all the systems. I know the draw of looting versus crafting. Now it comes down to what kind of character do I want to role play as, and that's the move I'm gonna get. Both are good, I think, and they keep you going enough. I think by modern standards, they got to be a little bit better. I think it needs to feel a little bit more exciting, getting that piece of weapon, and then also I think there needs to be a little bit of an easier way to maybe I might be wrong about this, but I would have liked to had. Well, okay, I'll tell you what. I downloaded a mod that kind of like messed with the loot that everyone has, like all the NPCs have, right? And it's different every time. And so in one playthrough, I could be trying to go to whatever the first dungeon, right? And then there's this thief that wasn't there in the vanilla game, right? But this thief has like thief armor on it with perks already on it. He has steel weapons, or maybe an ogre a bow. And that's so exciting to be in the beginning of the game and already find a gear as well as weapons that you're already interested in using for your role playing experience. And the fact that the vanilla game doesn't necessarily do that, and you're just surrounded in the beginning with just only iron weapons, I get that, and that's cool and that's fine. But it's so nice to have that option to just click, like turn on that mod and have a completely new experience where I'm already excited at the beginning of my adventure. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. And what you also said that I think highlights for me the nostalgia of Elder Scrolls, which is the way that they landed on ebony and glass and Daedric armor. It just has that sparkle that you're looking for, right? Where I think Fallout suffers from. I don't get as excited when I'm playing Fallout when I'm discovering new armors and new sets of equipment as I feel when I'm playing an Elder Scrolls game. And so I don't know if it's the way that they textured the armor all the way back to Morrowind, or if it's just nostalgia, or if they're onto something. But where I do think it risks becoming diluted is when the crafting system removes some of the magic and the intimacy of discovering a weapon, where you just start, where everything just kind of becomes commonplace.
Right.
And so I think about when I'm playing a tactical game, and my character gets a flaming bow, and you're like, okay, what is this flaming bow? Is this a really special bow? Is this? And there's that mystery of when you're first playing a new series of, okay, wait, is this something really special, or is this? Whereas with the Bethesda games, we kind of know, and especially with the way they've started to do things, it's like, oh, it's called legendary, or it's called, I'm trying to remember their other naming schemes, but it kind of becomes rinse and repeat, as opposed to the sword of arachnid something, and you're like, this thing is one of a kind, and I love the way it looks, and I found it in this cave, and what if I never opened that chest that was tucked away in the corner?
Right.
And so I think not only does the player need to be drawn to the base armors that are available and feel like there's a chance to get something really cool that can carry you through some tougher difficulty ranged areas, but also you need to find those one of a kinds that you can't really craft. You know, and I don't know how other players feel about that, but I think if you could craft everything, then it's just a matter of, is this hunting gear, is this steel, iron, whatever, you know, and it all becomes ingredients more than it does like a special formula. So yeah, that's what, do you remember what the mod is called that you use that kind of helped reframe the way that you think about itemization?
I honestly can't. If people are so interested in that, you know, 1,000 likes, I'll drop my mod list, you know. But
I love that. Come on, guys, we could do that. We could do 1,000 likes for
I'll drop the mod list. I do it. Don't make me.
Okay, sweet. So then we'll skip over every location discovered because we kind of touched that. We touched crafting. Let's see, playstyle specific tailored sets. I don't know what he means by that. Bedroom. So Hearthfire, I believe, is what introduced the ability to own a home. Is that correct? Because I haven't properly segmented out in my brain what is the DLC, and that's why I'm excited to replay it, because I love seeing with fresh eyes. This is the DLC that does this and this does that. There's that one.
Hearthstone
then or Hearth?
I think so. We should look. I'm gonna look it up right now. Skyrim. I'm gonna see if it is Hearthfire.
So there's Dawnguard. There's Hearthfire. Yeah. So it's not a story DLC. It just offers a player the ability to build homes in addition to the ones found in each other major town. Yeah.
And you can farm, and
so
there's Dragonborn as well.
Yeah.
So
okay. So how did you feel about the gameplay DLCs? Not necessarily story, but enhancing gameplay. Is that something that you like with Bethesda games or RPGs in general? Do you like them to be more like, oh, now we just added this feature, or do you kind of expect a campaign that interweaves the new features with the new gameplay?
I think what's really fun about Bethesda games is it really comes down for me is the skills and the builds of your character, right? And the variety you can do. You can have your own unique build if you wanted to, and see it and challenge yourself. And I think that is really where the magic and the fun starts happening. The game's so great for a person who can become immersed and add their own creative role-playing experience, I think. And so if you could do that, you're going to really leverage the systems of the skills and the builds that you can make. And so when the DLC can enhance that experience for me, so like vampires and werewolves, that whole new skill tree, that line, and then even changing the way my character looks, that was awesome. If they didn't do that, I don't think I would have cared so much about the rest of the DLCs. Because it didn't change the game in a way, right? Like you were saying. And so I think that is a very important part when we look forward to new Bethesda games and DLC is how are you going to enhance the gameplay on an character level first? And then from there, I'm open to all the additional stories and quests that you want to give me, because now I want something to experience this a setting for this a character to now experience and be able to enact its new skills that I've learned, through that other DLC. So yeah, I love what they did there, and I want them to continue doing that in the next Elder Scrolls.
Hell yeah, I love that. Yeah, and the rest I feel like that he kind of touches on is interwoven with all the other discussion that we've kind of had already. I think This makes me excited to continue my Skyrim playthrough as I eventually wrap up Fallout 4. I can finally go back to Morrowind, then do the Oblivion and the Skyrim. And I'm so excited for that because I miss the Elder Scrolls universe. I miss playing inside of that and being able to have discussions about that. So this was a good excuse to get our audience a little taste of what our podcast will be. We're not afraid to just park it on an old RPG and talk about it for a while, because that's what I'm looking for as a consumer. I want more podcasts that can bring us back to the classics of gaming, you know, the ones that, I don't know, because it's fun to be able to finally hear what Jumby's been doing in Skyrim and get some tips as I jump back in and find out how if we're different as players or if we're alike. So we'll move on to headline story number 2. Pokemon Legends ZA is officially coming to Nintendo Switch in 2025. So does that mean that that's going to be a launch title? Is that going to be kind of cross-gen? I don't think it's accidental that they're giving themselves 2 years, right? Or, I mean, assuming when Arceus came out maybe like last year, a year and a half ago, something like that. So targeting 2025, that will give them more time than the Pokemon developers are kind of used to, right? Yeah,
so I really think with what we were talking about last week with the Switch 2 and that they're going to be rolling that out next year, I think this easily could be a launch title. Pokemon is so huge for Nintendo, and it's at this point it's almost like Mario and Pikachu are like mascots, you know, right? So I think this would be a perfect launch title. I could easily see them making it available still on the Switch, as well as the Switch 2. Maybe it might not run as well, maybe similar to what we have seen in PS5 and Xbox. But I really think that this is probably going to be a launch title, and I am so stoked for this. This was the last Pokemon game I played when I was in college, and this is the game that turned me into an adult player. Meaning, before when I played Pokemon, I did not know what EV or IV training was, which is basically a way of playing to max out important stats on your Pokemon so that you're highly competitive and you can beat your friends. So in that game, I didn't do that. And I went to go play and challenge my friends with my Pokemon after I beat, and I got wiped all across the floor. All my Pokemon fainted by one of his Pokemon, and I literally was so pissed. And I was so confused how my level 100 Pokemon are not as good as his level 100 Pokemon. And he finally explained to me that there's like these hidden mechanics that you got to leverage when you're raising your Pokemon. And so from then on, with every Pokemon game I've played, I've been really quick to go online and look up how to create competitive Pokemon with EVs and IVs in that specific game. So yeah, I have a lot of memories of X and Y, and this is now Z, right? So we always talk about where was Z, and now they finally got Z. So I'm interested to seeing like officially how that game looks, and like if it's going to be like Arceus, where they are throwing and catching and having more RPG mechanics. So and I like that. So I'm praying they do. Please. That would be a ton of fun.
So here's kind of some of the comments on the YouTube video I was using to get some context as to what is this, because I almost thought that it was two different games, like a sequel to Arceus, but also a sequel to X and Y. So people were saying X and Y were the games that got me back into Pokemon after stopping with Gold and Silver. I'm so excited to play Z. Someone else said, I'm looking forward to revisiting the Kalos region again, whether it be ancient Kalos. Am I saying that correctly? Is it Kalos or Kalos?
I think it's Kalos. I think so.
Kalos, or something from the Victorian era when Lumio City was first under construction. There's a perfect opportunity to incorporate the great Pokemon War from 3,000 years ago. Wow. Another person said, Pokemon X was my first Pokemon game, and I've loved that generation ever since. Someone else said, I wonder if they're going to do something with that one story from the XYZ. Okay, so this fills in the gap I was looking for. XYZ anime about the Greninja hero of the Ninja Village. So the reason why Pokemon players were expecting Z is because there was an anime series called XYZ. Is that correct?
That sounds familiar. I'm not too familiar with the anime, but I've been hearing. I heard over the years that sort of kind of bird in my ear. So yeah, that sounds familiar. Okay. Yeah. And
then someone else said, I've always wanted something that bridges the physical. Oh, that's actually for another part of the story. So what the official word is from Pokemon's website is that it's a new challenge in the Pokemon series of video games will be released simultaneously worldwide on Nintendo Switch in 2025. It will be a completely new adventure set entirely within Lumio City, a city where redevelopment is in progress with the goal of being a place where humans and Pokemon can coexist. So yeah, it's pretty vague, but it sounds like if you played X and Y, you were waiting for this day to come.
Right.
So it makes me curious to check out X and Y. I wonder if that is one of the ones I have.
I wonder
I think I have Pokemon X on 3DS. So I'm excited to try.
Yeah, that was on 3DS. Yes. I wonder if they're, how they're saying like make Pokemon coexist in the same city. I wonder if they're gonna try to make it have some sort of gameplay feature where your Pokemon can be out more often. There's more of an incentive to keep your Pokemon out, where it's coexisting with you at the same time. That would be interesting to see what they mean by Pokemon coexisting in the same city, and it already makes me think like I'm going to be interacting with Pokemon in this city that are going to help me accomplish or get certain items, right? So we'll see what that looks like, but I always really like it in the new games where you can throw your Pokemon out, walk around with it, show your friends. It's super fun to be able to just do more with them than just battle, right?
Yeah, I love that. And then there was for the mobile players, there was some announcements. It was Pokemon Unite. They have a special event and Pokemon Cafe Remix. And also these games are, I think, iOS and Android and Switch. Yes. Pokemon Remix, where you can cook and collect various rewards by collecting items dropped by Pokemon during puzzles. Did you ever play the Remix series? Is that something that you...
I played, I don't know, is that the same one that's on the iPad? I played a Pokemon Cafe for sure before, but I don't know if it's the exact same one. And it's decent, it is what it is. I mean, when it comes down to Pokemon, you know me. I like Pokemon cards and I like Pokemon games, meaning actually handhelds and now the Switch, right? That's the two things I really like. The apps, they're interesting, and I've tried them on the mobile games, but they aren't what I'm looking for when I'm following Pokemon. So seeing like this update, I was like, that's cool, it's cool for those players. But for me, I got really excited about Z.
Yeah, and then there's an update to Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, which on the podcast you've mentioned that you're still playing, right? You're still revisiting those ones?
Yes, I'm still playing Pokemon
So are you going to participate?
Violet.
Are you going to participate in Terra Raid battle events with the
I've
mightiest Venusaur?
The mightiest Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard. Yes, I think I'm gonna participate in these because those are the starters from the first generation, which is Sorry, guys, the best generation. And so I'm going to participate in those. But I do participate in Terra raids. I haven't been lately. I did more so did about like a year ago. Um, but I'm going to get back into it because I recently got that new OLED Switch and I did a new playthrough and I'm trying to 100% the Pokedex. So this seems like something totally up my alley. Yeah.
For those of us who have not played Scarlet and Violet, what is a Terra raid? Is that exclusive to this generation of title,
Yes.
or is that something? Okay, so it's specific for Scarlet and Violet.
It's specific for Scarlet and Violet. So every Pokemon game, as of late, they're trying to they switch up the gameplay in a certain way. So like Sword and Shield era, they made it so they can turn into giant versions of themselves, Gigantamax or something like that. And then in X and Y, they had their Mega forms, right? In this one, they have their Terra forms. So what a Terra form does is it increases a certain element's power. So let's say like Venusaur had a grass type Terra Terra Shard power. I don't know if I'm saying this all correctly, but if they have grass type and you throw your Terra Ball at them, so they kind of turn their Super Saiyan form, right? They get like their little gem on their head, and then if it's Leaf, it's like it looks like some sort of world or something. They all have their own different looks, so you can tell what type someone is. It maxes out that skill so that they're more powerful and do more damage. But what's really cool about it and why people have fun with it is you could have, say, Venusaur, which is a leaf Pokemon, but give him like a Terra type of fire. So when he turns into his Terra form, now he has the strengths and weaknesses for a fire type, right? So he can change his typing. So yeah, imagine being against someone who can do more damage to a leaf type, which is you. You turn into your Terra form, which is a fire type. All of a sudden, you're not getting damaged so bad, right? So that's where
I love that. That adds
in.
A lot of tactical
yes.
kind of intrigue to the battle system.
Totally. It looks kind of goofy a little bit, not gonna lie, because each one gets like a gem on their head when they go in their Terra form. So you're like getting like these Pokemon with weird crowns and like jewelry on their head, you know, but it's fun.
I love that. Okay, and then they also announced their new I didn't add this to the notes, but did you see the new card game?
New TCG.
I
saw that. Is
that a big deal or is that not a big deal?
I think it's a big deal in certain ways to me, but not a big deal in other ways. So not a big deal to me in terms of collecting cards, because I know this will always be true. The original set of Pokemon cards will always have great value. There's as long as the fans are alive, right? So those will always have great value, and I'll always like collecting physical cards. It has no effect on me in that way whatsoever. But in regards to the future of Pokemon cards, and in the future of Pokemon cards, like the current generations, it makes me do wonder. Are they going to put more effort into digitalizing everything like they're doing with video games? Is that what they're trying to do? Or is this just another thing they're doing so that they can increase their profits, right? I think I see it as that. I don't see them ever fully letting go physical cards, but it also makes me wonder if like the younger generation is going to like collecting more digital, and then I'm just a dinosaur who likes collecting physical, right? And that they're preparing for the future that way. So I don't know what the deal with that is. It's cool, but like for me, I would rather the physical cards are cool. That's a Pokemon card that you can hold, touch, play with in real life. It's not some digital card that you just, I don't know, it feels like just collecting pictures and just like looking at these pictures. Like, how fun is it just to look at these pictures? I guess that's fun, but I don't know, the physical, I don't, that's what I have to say about that.
So my take as an outsider was, oh, this could be big in the way that Pokemon Go is big, because if you're they give you like 2 free card pools a day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could battle. So if they got the battling system to feel good to where you're waiting in line at Disneyland and you could do pools and then battle with people and trade with people in line, that social aspect could be really cool.
The social aspect could be really cool. But honestly, they've already had a Pokemon TCG app. I've already been on it. They give you, I don't have one on me right now, but every time I open up a pack of Pokemon cards, right, like one of these things, each pack has a QR code where you can pull digitally already, right? So to me, this just seems like, oh, we're just making that app, like this is the new skin, right? And then making it better. And I've played on that, and it's fun. I used to play more of it a lot more, and you can play online. But if they're taking this more to the next level, like socially, I didn't get much of a social feel with that. It felt more like a game. So what you're saying sounds a little bit more appealing. I didn't fully get that from the trailer, so they need you, Spencer. They need you telling what translating.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking, and I totally understand the fears of, loving something physical, seeing it going digital. And so I was kind of looking with that lens, but I was also looking with the lens of, would this hook in someone like me who currently isn't collecting physical? Yeah. Would I find myself curious of like, oh, that kind of looks fun and shiny, and then now I get to battle with it, with people? I'm more so intrigued to see if this hits, because I have friends who play Pokemon Unite really hardcore, and I have friends who play Pokemon Go really hardcore. So I was just curious, are they trying to capture that same type of energy, but centered around the cards? So get some of those users who are playing those other games, or create a space for people who want to battle with cards where they could just meet up and play. And I don't know, maybe I misread it, but that's what I would be assuming is the goal, right? Is if this is going to be a big thing. But reading the comments in the YouTube video, no one really seemed that interested. So I was like, maybe that's a segmented market within the Pokemon community that would be intrigued by that. Maybe people feel less than enthused based off their experience with the previous trading card game that you're referring to. So yeah, I'm like, is this a full rollout, and are they going to wind down the other one and kind of migrate everyone over to this new system? Are you going to be able to import your cards like you are mentioning with the other one? So yeah, I'll definitely keep my eye on it, and I'll keep a lookout with my friends.
I'm gonna have to try it out too. I'm interested in how you were describing it, and we've always had Pokemon TCG games on Game Boy. Back in the day, we had a Pokemon TCG game. So there is an audience who likes to play this, especially digitally. But I think what's always been lacking in that area is, how easy is it to play with your friends online? Can I set up this open chat room where I can just start talking to them about the battle, like pre-game lobby kind of thing, and then start my battle and have fun? So that social aspect that you started describing, if they can take that to 2024 standards, like that would be super fun and a really good way to connect people who like the game, so they don't have to go out and struggle in their community to find, a card shop that that naturally attracts these people. These places, these small businesses close down often, and you lose that space to go play Pokemon in person. So if they can really make that experience and bring it home for us digitally, I can then see this thing being really fun, especially for the youth, the kids, and it might make them more interested in the cards and end up wanting to collect in the future. So if that's what they're going for, I really think they gotta do a slam dunk with the social aspect of the game. Make it cool to share what you got with your friends. That's what Pokemon is about, right? It's the Pokemon arise in the Game Boy because they wanted to leverage the link cable between Game Boys and trade. They wanted a game about trading. And so if they can really leverage that in the social aspect, that's what makes Pokemon so fun and so popular amongst friends.
I love that. Well, it's time now for us to talk about our week and what we've been playing. So maybe what we'll do is I'll start and then I'll do a game and then you do a game and then I'll do a game and then you'll do a game.
Okay.
So I finally started Persona 3 Reload on Xbox Game Pass, which is a remake of Persona 3. There's several different Persona 3s out there on different systems. I also have Persona 3 Portable on the Nintendo Switch, which is an older port. And so I wanted to open up Persona 3 Portable and then play like an hour and a half and then compare that to the remake. And so that's what I finally did. I played the remake up to that same hour and a half, and I wanted to feel the difference. Are these totally different games? How much new content is there? Because, I could totally understand if someone just wants to play Persona 3 Reload and they're like, that's going to be my entryway into Persona. Or I could understand if someone was like, no, you got to play Persona 3 Portable to understand all the newness of Persona 3 Reload. Like, do they interact in an interesting way? And so far, I will say that Persona 3 Reload seems to take what's cool about Persona 3 Portable and it enhances it in every way. Like, the music feels clear. Like, remember that song I mentioned to you is like a rap song that was really cool. I was able to Shazam it, and I'll see if I could pull it up. But so it's called Itwatodai Dorm by Zyodyne. And now I can hear the lyrics. And so it's like, was the other one just mastered weird or mixed weird? Or did they totally retrack it with English lyrics? So little things like that where you're like, yeah, that's the same song, but now I can know. It's like so much crystal clearer. Right. Also, the traversal is way more intriguing to me. Exploring the rooms, and they guide you through their system, because that's one thing I've noticed about Persona is there's a stress for new players if you're like me and you need to know what are you supposed to do. And I think that Fire Emblem Three Houses did a great job of removing that stress. I never felt stressed out about what am I supposed to do? When does the battle come up? Did I go see all the stuff I was supposed to see? Like I felt like I was in control with that. And same with Trails of Cold Steel, another game that kind of takes from the Persona ethos. But ironically, the Persona games leave me more confused as a new player to the series. So I would say with Persona 3 so far, it feels like it's making it clear as to you've seen all this stuff, or if there is stuff that you should go check out. Another thing I'm doing that I'm carrying over from Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked is taking the weirdest conversation paths. So if I just meet someone and I could tell like they don't want me to ask about this thing, I'm going to ask them about the thing. Or I met a teacher and one of the options, like she introduces like, hello, my name is Mrs. So-and-so. And one of the options is like, what's your first name? And so I asked that as the student, as like the high school student. And she was like, I'm not going to tell you my first name. You're a student. You don't need to know a teacher's first name. And I showed Mo, and like we both started cracking up. And then it was basically like, you could have said that successfully if you increase your charisma. And so I love that by taking the strange route, though, there's a little bit of an incentive to think about how you're going to level up your character.
That's cool.
Something else occurred where there's this girl that very clearly you're going to have a crush on, or have the opportunity to have a crush on. And she kind of has a crush on you. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. Maybe I'm role playing too much as this like weird version of the main character. But like any option I get to like throw in the Riz, I'm like, oh, she has a boyfriend. Like if someone asks, like, do you know if she has a boyfriend? I'm like, she has a boyfriend.
I think you're spot on. If there's anything I remember from college is that Spencer was always good at telling who liked who.
And I'm just trying to make it as messy as possible to see if it makes the game more engaging, because usually with an RPG, especially Bethesda games, sometimes you get punished for taking the more quirky, fun route. And it's like, oh, well, now you don't get that cool special item because you pissed off so-and-so.
Right.
Where I think the spirit of a great RPG knows that the player wants that thing and creates opportunities to get that thing from different angles.
Right.
And they're yes-anding you as opposed to gating off the reward because you chose to be quirky. So that's something that I noticed with Persona 3 Reload that I didn't notice as much with Persona 3 Portable. It just feels like it highlights the character interactions a lot more. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's been a great entryway into the series. So sick. Matt, you played the Final Fantasy demo and the OG. Why don't you tell us about that?
So I know last week I was saying I don't know if I'm gonna play the OG before release, but guys, confession, I did. I ended up caving and starting a playthrough with that, especially after you, Spencer, corrected me and said the part that you play in Remake is 10 hours, like that long in the OG. And I remember going, no, it's like only like 4, like it's really short. And then you're like, no, dude, it's like 10 hours before you get to see the whole map, you know? So I really wanted to test that. And so I booted it up and I started playing. And man, it did take a while. It took about 10 hours. You are right. Spencer's right, guys. But anyways, I had a good time playing it. It's really cool. Parts, sometimes I'm like, oh, these graphics, they're killing me a little bit. But at other moments I see the charm. Right, the charm of how it looks, and I appreciate the nostalgia and the gameplay loop. It's fun, and I know the story's there. I haven't beaten it yet. It's a long game, and it's been a rush to try to do. I think it's like
50 hours.
Yeah, I couldn't beat Remake, beat the DLC, beat the OG, the demo. Oh, I couldn't do it all. You know, I tried, but I got as far as I could in that, and that was a ton of fun, and I'm so happy I did, because I was able to really compare and contrast the Remake with what I experienced in the OG, and how it does kind of sort of feel like a sequel. And I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone, but it does feel like that. So if you guys want to feel like, I will now retract what I said last week and advise, if you want to have like that full experience, like you're a super fan, you know you're going to be a super fan, I do recommend beating the OG first and then beating the Remake. And you might even want to digest, if like you're crazy, like Spencer is, wanting to go in order with everything. you might want to even digest Advent Children and Crisis Core as well. They have a remaster of those, and I know as I keep playing this, I'm probably going to go back and finish the OG version, the original, and do Crisis Core, rewatch Advent Children, because it's just a really good world, great characters, and it's super fun, and I'm super hyped for the Rebirth. I played that demo. Dude, that demo is crazy, and I think it transfers over to when you buy it, right? The save data. So that's pretty cool. That reminded me of like triangle strategy. Does Unicorn Overlord do that as well? Like they transfer over the save data?
Yeah, I believe so.
I love when companies do that with the demo. That is so nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. So if you guys are watching, keep doing that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the demo. One of the best parts for me was seeing a certain character. I won't spoil it. Ride on a chocobo. I didn't know that was possible for that character, so that was awesome. And just the more exciting action gameplay, uh, where you can even synergize with another player to accomplish maybe a staggering effect on the enemy faster than if you were just controlling one character. That is really cool. So I don't know if you noticed that in any gameplay you saw, but you could like synergize two characters just like in the DLC with Yuffie, where they can do. It reminds me of Fire Emblem Engage, where you have like the other person on you, so that you got the. Oh gosh, I'm not making sense. You got an icon or something with you that helps improve your attack or a defense, right? And in this case, it was helping me stagger um, to make someone more an enemy unit more weak, and I love that. I think that is so cool. So I'm very excited for Final Fantasy Rebirth. It comes out tomorrow, February 29th. And I'm definitely going to get it and play it. So you'll be hearing more about it from me.
Nice. Tune in next week to hear Matt's impressions
Yes,
of
just
the Final
impressions.
Fantasy. Yeah. So it's remake and rebirth.
Yes, so
Did I get that
remake
right?
is the first entry, and then rebirth is going to be the second, and I believe they're going to have a third. So it's a trilogy in total. So we'll see what happens, guys.
Nice. Yeah, and then I made a lot of progress in Dredge. There's this creature that I kind of saw lurking in this region, and again, slowly picking up on cues of one big thing that I realized. If you guys are gonna play Dredge, do this immediately. You'll save yourself so much time. On the map, place markers down anytime you find something, whether it's a docking port, whether it's a strange item that you don't know how to use it yet, because you'll be going back to these regions when you have new features on your boat and new quests, meet new characters, and you don't want to be like me and just sail around hoping that you stumble upon the right thing. So I finally started using the map markers and creating my own kind of like design of the world to get a good idea of where everything is, so I can go back. So I have all the powers that you're given, and now I was able to finally take out this monster, and it was really fun. So I think I got to be like 70% done. Like
Mm.
I feel like I'm over the hill now. So again, check out Dredge. But next up, Matt, you have Yoshi's Woolly World. Tell
So
us
this
about that.
is was on my backlog, and fun fact about me is Yoshi is one of my most favorite Nintendo characters, outside of probably like Pikachu, like Pokemon. Um, Link might be up there too, but I really do like Yoshi. I love Yoshi when he's ever in any Mario game. Just makes the game so much more fun to me. Um, and I always really enjoyed playing Yoshi on Nintendo 64 at my friend's house. So there's just this warm, fuzzy feeling I get with Yoshi. I got Yoshi's Woolly World when it came out, and I never beat it. I only played a little bit of it with my wife, and we had a ton of fun. And it just got thrown on the back burner. I started playing another game. So I'm finally trying to come around back to it, play some of it, and it's got some nice charm. It's silly, it's simple, and it's really fun if you just want to not really stress and think too hard when you play a game, and you just want to get some of that charm. And so if you're already done playing like Mario Wonder and you missed Yoshi, I really recommend going back and playing some Yoshi. It's a fun gameplay experience, and yeah, I really enjoy it, especially if you like Yoshi.
Nice. I love that. That clearing the backlog is going to be a huge theme on this podcast. If you have shame about the massive digital library or physical library you've accumulated, and doesn't matter how old the console is, there's a chance that Matt and I also haven't played it and also have purchased it. And we are also figuring out how we're going to tackle it, when we're going to tackle it. So
yes.
I love seeing something like Yoshi's Woolly World in here, because there's a sense of relief when you finish a game or get close to finishing a game that you bought. You were so excited to buy one day. You're like, I gotta buy this. You get it, and then it just is waiting to be finished. And timing is such a big part of it, and a love of gaming and wanting to always learn new mechanics, see new things, and sometimes that trumps beating a game. So whenever games that are in our backlog make it into the list, I'm very excited to see that. So that's great. Yoshi's Woolly World from Jumby Jumba. And for me next, I have Pepper Grinder. This is, I mentioned this was in the Nintendo Direct from last week. It's published by Devolver Digital. I need to look into the developer and the composer, because that's kind of what is always cool about Devolver Digital, is they seem to pick really cool developers and really cool composers. So yeah, this game is for Celeste fans, and probably for Ori, Hollow Knight. If you like tricky, well-designed platforming, this is for you. It's very physics-based. I'm guessing probably Shovel Knight. You're basically digging your way through sand, shooting out, and then jumping into another sand and creating these like obstacles. Kind of like,
wow,
okay, there's sand here, there's a projectile here, and there's more sand here, and you have a drill. So you're like drilling, catching that momentum, getting gems, landing in the sand. There's puzzles, a lot like Celeste, I would say, with the challenge, where it's doable, but your brain is just working on overdrive. At least if you're like me and you're not a primarily platforming type of player. And so the irony for me is, as a producer and future composer, these are the type of games that musically aligned with what I already do. And so I have to play these games. But man, it is such a challenge for my brain, because there's no older brother or older cousin or best friend to just hand the controller and be like, here, like this is my friend Josh with like Prince of Persia. It's like, Josh, please get me through this stage. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I would just watch Josh like, oh wow, I would have never cleared that jump. I would have never done that. So it's like, I don't have Josh with me to beat these games for me, so I'm alone. And Mo can solve the puzzles for me, but she can't do the tight mechanics. So I finished the demo, and it was a lot of fun. If you're more Dead Cells than you are Celeste, I think it's going to lean towards the Celeste. But if you're more Celeste than Dead Cells, you're going to love it. It's very well designed for the players who want that challenging platforming. But cool. I'm excited to hear about Foamsters from you. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No. I think that's really cool. That was Pepper Grinder, right? Yeah, that's cool. I did check out Foamsters. I did Foamsters or Foamstars. I can't remember. It's something like that.
I think it's Foamstars, right? No.
Yeah. It's on. I don't know if is it on Xbox as well. Game Pass.
No. It's only on PlayStation Plus. Okay. I think it's an exclusive.
Okay. Yeah, I tried it out, and it looks really cool. It has a nice skin. Has a nice vibe. I totally get like a kind of a Fortnite feel from it. And so that's cool, especially for people who really do enjoy that look in Fortnite. So it's like fun and fresh. And there's a couple characters you can pick from that have different shooting and weapon styles. And so what it is basically is you have guns that shoot foam. And the foam not only just creates a layer, but you can build layers on top of it. So you can build like these mountains of foam, right? And then on top of that, you have like this snow foam board. So it helps you travel. It's like your mount, basically. It helps you travel across the foam really fast, right? And so there's a lot of mechanics to play with between shooting and then also riding on foam. Now, I haven't played all the game modes, but I did play one that was like a capture the flag style, and then another one that was more so, I guess, PvP. So they were both fun. The PvP was intense. I feel like these players play a lot of this game, and I just got wrecked like over and over and over again. So what I think you really could have fun with this game. The more you play and the better you get. It's just like playing anything else, like Fortnite. Like if you're always gonna have a little bit of that slope, that steady slope of skill to get over that hump, that hill of everyone shooting down at you and killing you. But once you fight past that, I'm sure that it's a fun game. I wasn't having the most fun because it was my very first time playing it, and I just kept dying a lot. And no one likes that, but it's cool. It's cool. I had more fun with the capture the flags. I didn't feel like I was losing for the team, So, but yeah, I recommend if you like that gameplay style of Fortnite, mini games, Splatoon, that sort of thing. It's worth a download. It's not a bunch of gigabytes, so you can download it within the night and hop on with one of your friends, and that's exactly what I did, and it was a great night. So go ahead and try that out if you're interested.
Brad, yeah, and get more use out of your PlayStation Plus.
Yes.
I love that. I think that could be a cool pattern for us if you try out a PlayStation Plus game, I try out an Xbox Game Pass game, and then we're kind of covering multiple angles. And I also love to dive into anytime Nintendo does something where they have a demo or whatever. So I think it keeps it fresh every week, which is what I love, because there's no way we could play all of the games. So you and I naturally are able to gravitate towards different stuff via the different ecosystems.
Yeah.
Which
Am
is
I
really
going to have
exciting.
time to play Foamsters in the future? No way. I'm not going to play Foamsters in the future. But I'm glad I did try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it adds a little bit of perspective for those who want to try out a new multiplayer game.
Exactly.
And they have some more insight now. So wrapping up, I finished the Unicorn Overlord demo. I think it ended up being like 9 hours.
Yeah, no, it was long. It was like
between 7 and
yeah. That's what I thought too. That's
it was
cool.
So freaking good. Easily my most anticipated game besides Dragon's Dogma 2.
Wow.
So yeah, you guys have to play this game. I was ranting to Mo because I was watching some podcasts of podcasters I love kind of make fun of it for the name. And I was like, Mo, they just don't get it. It's ironic, and it's calling back to Tactics Ogre, and it's Vanillaware, and like it's their art style, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game, and like I will defend this game. I don't know. She was watching it, and like they would make a joke. I was like, see, it's comedic too. It's multi-layered. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it'll also pull you in with the story, which is my favorite type of storytelling, is when, and I think that Japanese developers and Japanese filmmakers do a great job of that. I even Korean, because I believe Parasite is Korean. Have you seen that film? You know how it's comedic, but then it's really dark, that balance. That's what I think American creators miss out on a lot. It's kind of like once they pick a lane, they kind of have to stick with it. Whereas you could have a game like Unicorn Overlord where it's kind of silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but then it totally does at the same time. So it's a nice tonal refresh from coming from something that's very self-serious or something that's afraid to take itself too seriously. So that's what I really enjoy about it. It's the balance of the humor with the beautiful art style. It's cute, but it's also makes you feel like a badass, with the way the magic works in this game. When you watch your magician light people up, you feel so cool. You can name your mercenaries that you hire. You're always picking up new companions to add to your list, buying more chessboards to make room for them. Like, oh, I got this witch. I'm going to set her up with like an archer and with this. And then you could test battle and sharpen each other. You don't get XP, but it's the brain power of going like, okay, what am I going to do if I run into a pack of thieves? and no one can hit them. I need to think about how am I going to solve that problem, and then what am I going to do if my tanks are too slow and they never see enough battle? Like, do I throw a horse guy in there with them to kind of increase their mobility? Do I send them out first and wait to send the horse guys? There's just so much strategy. And I recommend playing the demo because when the game comes out, you don't want to be so far behind the learning curve and be overwhelmed, because don't put pressure on yourself to master this game. Play it on easy if you need to, just because there's so many mechanics that think of your first playthrough probably as just getting to know a new board game. Like, and the reason why I say I've kind of started to land on this, if you're playing a dungeon diver game like the Persona series or Shin Megami Tensei, or you're playing a Fire Emblem, I recommend don't go hard. Only because I've heard developers from these series sometimes say like, it wasn't really tuned for hard. We just know that there's a player base that loves to die and scrap the whole thing over. And like, and sometimes they'll play the game 17 times in a row just to get past one boss from the very start. So you never know what you're really up against from a challenge level. So I don't remember what I did for this one. I think I did it easy. And it's fun just getting to kind of like be a spectator into this world and go, okay, what are they trying to incentivize without being like stuck in a major battle where you're like, oh, I had no idea they were going to send winged units in at the last bit of battle. And like, how would I have known that the battle, and it doesn't seem to do that, at least on the difficulty that I've played. And I'm very scarred from Fire Emblem Fates, but it doesn't seem to do that where they're just like dumping units. Wargroove will do that often too. I'm also kind of happy that I'm this far in of the demo. I finished the demo, but there hasn't been a escort mission. Those always kind of bother me in tactics games where it's like, here's one unit and another unit, and you need to get them through the map all the way over. It's like an hour-long mission of just like perfectly moving the chess piece. That kind of stuff sucks the fun out of it. And I'd rather love the genre and play all of the games on easy than hate the genre because I'm trying to play the games on hard. Once you pick a couple tactics games that you love and master those, as opposed to feeling like you have to do hard on every single tactics game you play. XCOM 2, another prime example. I thought I sucked, and then I started reading the online discourse, and it was like, no. This whole mission is designed towards expecting that you knew to research that technology to be able to take out that one alien that comes halfway through the battle. So there's an illusion of freedom with some of these games. And until you know how well designed this game is, do yourself a favor and just scope it out first a little bit. That's my advice. Oh, dude, you'll love it. I can't wait to hear what you think of it. And the demo is such good value. You get like 10 hours of the game. It's beautiful. And then really quickly, I tried out this game called Return to Grace. I'd never heard of it. It's kind of like a walking simulator, light puzzler. It's really interesting. It's like 2 to 3 hours long. It's on Game Pass. And I was just like, I want to try anything weird that comes along because for my day job, we're always trying to connect with developers and pair up composers and producers with them. So I'm like, maybe this is going to have some cool music or a cool art style. And I've actually enjoyed it. So I'm going to try and finish that this week. Super simple kind of palette cleansing game. If you're playing a lot of deep mechanics, you just need something chill. I recommend checking it out on Game Pass. But yeah, that's all we have for this week. Is there anything on? So we should expect Final Fantasy VII from you next week. Your first impressions.
Final Fantasy VII for me, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna play that one for this weekend. It probably will be the only game I play, to be honest. I might play some Woolly World as well, but mostly it's a Final Fantasy kind of weekend for me. So yeah, probably for a lot of people out there too. So I'm excited to see everything coming out on YouTube, the discussions, and let's buckle up and have a good weekend.
And then I'm cleaning up the Yeti Den server, getting it ready for Discord, so that way, as we're slowly rolling out this podcast, we're gonna find a name, we're gonna get an RSS feed, we're going to get my Patreon finally set up, and I'm gonna be diligent and post everything on there. And then as we start to catch you guys trickling in, we'll have our Discord server ready so you guys could talk to us about games and all that stuff. So that was something I was working on today, is like just getting everything set for our community, because I want to have a lot of interactions with the audience as we grow. And so you'll see me posting on Instagram and stories, and you'll see Matt and I our faces a lot. So if you guys like the podcast so far, subscribe, comment, follow Jumpy Jumbla, and let's get some streams set up this year where Matt and I could play games together. So yeah, I'm super excited for this year. It's gonna be good.
I love all that. That's such great news. I'm excited for the Discord and to talk to all you guys too.
Great.
There's so many games to talk about. There's so many theories to digest. So let's get at it. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you, Jumpy Jumbla. So we will see you all next time. Thank you for tuning in, and we will be back with some first impressions from Matthew on Final Fantasy Rebirth.
You will.
I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Peace out. Okay, do it again.